Hello, testing this mic. Hello everybody. Make some comments already. Hello Curry and Rebel Star and Custard. Oh, nice to see you. How are you doing? Let me switch this over. Hopefully I was good enough. I did a test earlier, so. Alright. Good. Looks good. Looks like there's a little bit of a tiny black line. Webcam was being fussy, so let's see if I can put it over just a little more. So yeah, that's pretty good. Hello, Hololive. Alright guys, so today we will be diving straight into some more primer. Basically what we did the last couple streams was sand down primer and fix any remaining imperfections that we had on our kit. And so there were a lot of little pinholes that we had missed the first time that needed to be filled in. There were some minor scratches, just stuff like that. And so this, is a continuation of that, and we've got all of that sanded down now at this point. So we're going to reprime. This is kind of the usual step. So from here on out, it's kind of a process of priming and then finding, additional bubbles and scratches, correcting those, and going on until we're happy with it and ready to paint it. Hello, Ali. Sorry, yeah, it's been a while. How have you been? Busy, hopefully in the good way. Glad that you could make it. Let me show you guys some of the pieces, I guess, then just real quick before we start it. So this is just one of them that I kind of half primed. You can see I kind of started it again just to make sure it was looking okay. So we'll be continuing with these pieces, and there's a whole lot of them on the desk. But what I did do ahead of time is I primed these hair pieces already because I wanted, I wanted to make sure that they were nice and ready, or almost ready, because we're also ideally going to be gluing these today. So she's got 4 hair pieces. So there's 4 hair pieces total. And we want to make it so there's only 2. So 2 of these pieces are going to fit together. And we're going to straight up glue them even before we paint them. Because we're going to need a putty over the gap and make it so there's one piece. And so I'll show you guys more of that later, but in short, we won't need to prime these pieces very much at all. There was only one other spot that I corrected before this stream. Let me see if it will show up on camera. So there's let's see. Okay, I gotta put this piece away. Like holding on to a lot of them. So kind of hard to tell, but there's a whole line here. You can see there's a few little like bumps. Those were all corrected because when I primed them, I found additional pinholes, which I filled in. So that's the only spot on those hair pieces that needs to be primed again. Let's see. Excited to see how you do that. Yeah, that'll be a fun one. We'll only be able to do the actual like putty part today, so we won't be able to sand it. But we can let it sit and then return to that on Wednesday. That will be the day that we'll correct that and finish it, and then should be one piece. Let's see, good news. Okay, you're prepping for school, moving, you gain content, clients. Yeah, sounds like regular life, huh? Just getting back in the busy life. That's good. I'm glad that you're keeping busy in a positive way. Always a good thing. Things are about to get real crazy here again too once school starts. I only have about a month left. Starts at the end of the month, so that'll be fun. And gone for medical reasons. That's not quite as fun. Hopefully you have been okay, Hololive. That's never, well, it's a good thing if you're getting treatment, but bad that it had to happen in the first place. So, yeah. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better. I'm glad you can tune in. Let's see, good news is someday soon you may be able to try a kit out. Ooh, yay, that's good too. So, lots of exciting things happening among you guys, and life slowly, returning to busyness. So, things are happening. Alright, so we're gonna just dive into this because we got a lot of priming to do. Not quite sure how long this will take. I don't think quite as long as before, but we'll see. And then, in the meantime, we've got some other stuff. I also put spoons on the agenda. I'm not sure if that will happen. I'm not fully mentally prepared for that, but if we have some extra time, maybe I can get some primer and stuff on spoons and just do some work to get, you know, kind of an idea of what I want. I don't even have the color scheme up on, you know, this stream yet, so that will probably be like a next stream or a stream after that thing. Also, I wanted to share with you guys just a little piece that I'm working on because it's very cute and it's for my current commission, but I'm liking how it came out, so I will just go ahead and show it as a sneak peek for some of you guys tuning in. So let's see if I can get it because it's very small. Here he is, or it, I guess. Tiny snowman. So this is for current commission I'm working on. And yeah, just, you know, working on stuff, getting stuff done before school. I'll have a lot more to show for this kit later. I'm planning to put an update up, but this is my Astolfo commission, so I'm getting to a point where I'm about ready to start showing photos, and I just finished this snowman today, so I am happy about that. I still need to send the client these photos because we were trying to figure out what color scarf we wanted for that snowman, but I think that red is pretty cute, so I'm confident enough to show him off. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. I've got my glove on. Let me see real quick. You broke your finger? Oh god. Yeah, that sucks. Man, you get like a finger cast too, just holding the finger. Hopefully it has been okay and you've been able to use it. Yeah, that's gotta be real tough. Hello, Mr. Freaky. We're just doing our introductions before we jump right into this airbrushing. So, as always, I will be using Tamiya Surface Primer. This is just the white, liquid white kind. Thins well with lacquer, and it's kind of my go-to. So we'll just be continuing that. And most of the pieces will look kind of half primed, or you know, they've got some primer on them already. You can see this one is a combination of regular resin and primer, and so we don't have to do quite as much work. Anyway, let's get this ready. I already have a cup that kind of has some primer in it, so I'm just going to use this for everything. And ooh, I am running low on eyedroppers, so I might have to pull some more out. So I'm going to be thinning this with 2 drops of my regular like hardware lacquer store thinner, and then 1 dropper of Mr. Colored leveling thinner. And I was having really good results earlier today with 2 droppers of the primer as opposed to 1, because it was going on a little bit too thin with 1 dropper. So we'll try out 2. And the leveling properties of the Mr. Color should be enough to keep it down. Well, it's so big, so bring that down. Okay, let's see. Have to go to a hand surgeon. Oh my gosh, so it's a whole thing. Oh, I'm so sorry, Hollow Life. I hope that it gets better for you and that you don't need surgery, because that's a whole separate thing. Alright, putting on my mask and tying my hair up a little more. As I mentioned before, once this air booth goes on, it's gonna kind of auto mute itself, so I've turned the music up a little bit so maybe you guys can hear it better. But I'll be turning the booth off and being able to talk with you guys pretty, you know, in between. It'll be a bit muted sometimes, but after that, plenty of time for conversation. So we're gonna start right now. Mask is going on. There's no particular order I'm gonna pry these in. Just kind of gonna go with whatever is, you know, on the order on my bench. So picking up random stuff. Alright, that's this. That's good. And I'll probably take the glove off when we're spraying, but that, and this. Go here. Alright. I'm gonna be spraying around 15 to 20 psi, probably closer to 20 psi this time, just because I really want to get that primer out. So, like that. And the boot's going on. about that for just a minute. So I basically just ran out of primer. So we're taking a small break. But that worked really well with that ratio, and it covered all the pieces pretty smoothly. So part of the second priming is when I go in a little bit, I guess, harder, like I spray more of the primer, I put on a thicker coat, because now that we've sanded out most of the imperfections, I'm at a point where, you know, I might not need to prime them a third time. So this is going to be a thicker white coat. After that, we'll go in and see if there's any additional problems. I didn't see any bubbles forming except for one on that last arm that I just sprayed, and so I think we're good. But we're about halfway through at this point, so all that I need to spray now are the 2 boots and her pants, and then her big like clothes thing. So we should be able to get done with this relatively fast. And after the priming, I will, you know, let you guys know, and then I will need to switch over my booth setup back to my regular workbench, because we're going to be working on that here tonight as well. So second round of priming always goes a little bit quicker than the first one. The last time took us pretty much the whole stream, but we'll be able to wrap this up relatively quickly. So that's always a good thing. We're gonna shake this. I'm gonna quickly clean out my airbrush just a little bit to get rid of any clogs or extra stuff. Wasn't noticing a problem with it, but just kind of do this as a practice when I'm switching in between colors or adding, you know, more primer, mixing things, etc. So more through here. Yeah, we're not going to do a huge cleaning. Get it. Great. Let's see. I am reading. Let me read your comments. Sorry, I'm getting caught up in my stuff. Oh my gosh. Ow. Oh my gosh. Ow. Owie. Ah, that hurt. Like, it hurts just reading it. Oh man. I hope you're able to get back into the creative stuff soon, and that, again, your finger heals up. Isn't it crazy how, like, one finger injury or one toe injury really just kind of, you know, makes it so you can't do anything you want to do? I'm thankful I've never broken any bones or anything like that, but because that just sounds really painful. All right, so I'm gonna go back on it. Probably this. I think this might be the last batch. We probably won't need to do another batch, but just in case, you know, there is that option. Let me double check this piece real quick, because I think this was the arm that looked like it had a bit more holes in it. Yeah, I think though, with the thick coat we've laid down, once we sand this with a 1200 or higher grit, we can probably fill in most of these tiny dents. And yeah, I'm not seeing a lot that requires more drilling. I think a lot of these are surface level things that could probably be sanded down. I'm not even sure if they'd be visible to you guys. Probably not, but there's just a few really surface level scratches and things on here. And I might go in with one more layer on this arm first before I start the other pieces, because I do want to make sure that all of that Bondo is gone, because these hands especially are gonna, and the head, they're all gonna have the clear skin paints on them, and so we don't really want any of that stuff to shine through the white primer. So, all right, let me add just a tiny bit more primer, or sorry, thinner. Some of that. Oh, that should be good. All right. Continuing round 2. I'm gonna turn my airbrush compressor back down. Alright, so just had enough to finish the pants, but I'm gonna need to mix just a little bit more to finish up those like shattered clothes around her waist. So just one more piece left to prime, and then we will move on to some other stuff. Let me check up on your comments real quick. Doesn't look too bad. Oh my god. Serious discussions happening here. 3 weeks. God, that's just ouch. Ouchies happening in chat. I also realized I forgot to put this piece we're about to prime on a little clip, so I'll need to do that. So far though, pretty good. Significantly better looking pieces than after our first round of primer. Those pants used to be, like, when we primed them the first time, they were really full of pock marks. And I had to spend a good chunk of time over this weekend just filling in everything and making sure that those pieces were pretty smooth. And so far the primer seems to be laying down really nicely on them. So clearly all of that work must have been good for something. I didn't see too much, but things can change once primer dries and kind of settles into areas. So you may have noticed when I was airbrushing it, it went on kind of like glossy and wet, and that looks a lot different once the pieces are fully dried. Not cured yet. It's going to take a little time for that primer to cure, so that's why we're doing this now. But the drying is different. So you can see, like, this piece was pretty shiny and glossy before. This is her body, or her belly. Now it's a lot flatter, but very nice leveling properties. So it kind of conformed and filled in, you know, all of those areas that we sanded down before. And now all it really needs is a very thin, you know, thin sandpaper, high grit to go over it to smooth down any extra fuzzies. That should be good. Oh yeah, I also forgot about this piece. So this is her hair. We'll have to do that real quick. Let's get that ready too. Rather than put it on a clip again and get all that going, I'm gonna do kind of a quick tip. So what you can do if you have these small pieces is wrap them around a toothpick or something and just stick them on a piece of tape like that. And that way you can just kind of hold the tape, and then, you know, sometimes I put another Q-tip or something on the other end. So essentially you can just hold it like this and just spray it as you need to. And so with, you know, it'll kind of stick to itself, and so you have the option of doing it that way. I'll just, you know, there's not too much that needs down to that hair, it's really just the top, so that's a quick way rather than messing with all the wire and getting that going. So okay, where did we put this? This is the piece that we drilled straight through it, and then I had to spend like 15 minutes fixing it. Let me grab sticky. I'm just gonna put a little bit of tacky glue on the end of this wire, and that way when we stick the wire into the kit, it's not a permanent bond. I can just pull it out easily, but it will hold. This is something kind of newer that I've been doing recently. I used to use an epoxy to do this, but I was finding out the bond was really difficult to take out after. So the tacky glue is a lot easier. Just add like a little dab. It doesn't even have to be that much. That's kind of a lot. And great. Yeah. So yeah, then you just stick it in like that, and you can remove some of the glue if it's, you know, bothering you, but most of the time it should be in an area where you're not going to be seeing it after assembly anyway, so not too much to worry about. Alright, so now we'll just put this on the clip. Should hold itself. It'll actually strong. Let me grab another one. want something that can hold it tight. It's gonna be kind of a loose fit. I'll leave that for now and get this primer. If anything, we can just kind of hold it and spray the bottom first because there are a couple spots that we need to get on the bottom. You can see I sanded it up. Okay. That one, and I don't think we're going to be using all of this. That's fine. I'll make a full batch just in case. You never know. This is people. Primer is all ready. Gonna swirl that a little bit more and add a tiny bit more thinner if you want to get some of that bottom stuff off. Alternatively, you can like scrape it with a toothpick like that, and it will rub some of the extra primer or paint or whatever into the thinner. Sometimes it just likes to get clogged in the bottom. Okay, put this in here. Up. Away. Alright, last piece. So I'm probably going to spray the bottom first here and then flip it over and do the top. So don't even need to hold it if we're going to be spraying the bottom. I'm just kind of going to like twirl it around. Try to keep it out here, but I might pull it towards myself. So sorry if you guys can't see it for a brief moment. Alright. vibes. Yep, that's the theme tonight. So I think we're good. That glue wasn't, oh shit, sorry. There's one more piece. Keep forgetting about this tiny one. I'm not even gonna turn my booth off. I always forget about these small ones. Here we go. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so the glue wasn't fully dried on that piece. So what I think I'm gonna do is take a look at it later once that glue is done with and make sure I didn't miss any edges or anything, because a lot of the problems that were on that kit, on that piece I should say, were along the edges of the tattered like clothes. So if I miss any primer, I will go ahead and do that later. But for now, let's do a very thorough clean out of this airbrush, since at this point we are completed with the priming stage. And then after that, I will put on a be right back screen for a few minutes, because we're going to need to transition into my regular top down hobby bench area, so we can do some more putty work on those hair strings and turn them into one piece. So good times. We'll not need to be turning the airbrush booth on for the rest of this stream, so now you guys have to listen to me. I have my paper towel here, which gets completely used up before I throw it away. Has a nice kaleidoscope of colors. Okay, let me take off my glove. I'm going to take off the needle tip here too now, and just lightly go over that with a Q-tip. Make sure we get all of the extra primer and stuff off of it. It's also been a little while, so you can see I've got some paint, remnants of paint on it. I hope this will be a funny stream if we like do all the hair and then we still have some time, so then I have to go back into my booth and like start some spoon work. Yeah, well, that might end up happening though, because I don't know if it's going to take a whole hour to do all that putty. Really not that big of a job. But we will be gluing it, so that will take some time. Okay. Almost done. Very important part of your airbrushing step and is the cleanup portion. I know it's not fun and not, you know, exciting, but it needs to happen if you want to keep your airbrush in good condition. And wipe off here too. Okay. In all my time airbrushing, this Iwata HP has been there for me because I've been there for it, and I've never bent a needle or had anything happen to this one, so no. The only, I guess, repair that I really needed to do for it is to lubricate the trigger. So sometimes, let me finish this up and then I'll show you guys real quick. This should be good. Doesn't have to be perfect. So sometimes over time, as you're using your airbrush, your trigger might end up being like a little sticky, or it might not move quite as well. So in that case, what I do is take apart the whole airbrush and then kind of clean out this gasket area, because the way your airbrush works is it's connected to the air here. And so when you come up here, there's a little piston, like a little, you know, metal cylinder in it. And when you push down on this, on the trigger here, it pushes down on that piston. But sometimes that can get a little bit gunked up, and so, or too oiled or anything. It just happens over time with use. And so you take apart the whole airbrush, take out the little cylinder, And then what I do is I use some like special airbrush oil, or just like lubrication oil that's meant for things like airbrushes. And just like a drop or two goes into the piston area here. And so that way it moves back, completely. You can adjust things. And it's nice and smooth. So that's really the only maintenance I've done on this. I've never needed to replace an O-ring or a bent needle or anything. So just kind of, take good care of your airbrush. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, put this away. I'm gonna zoom this in again. Oops, not out, in. And let me start to transition and move to this other bench. So I'm gonna put on a be right back sign. It should only be, maybe 5 or so minutes. So if you want to get a drink or something, get a snack, get your kid out. We will be working on stuff shortly. So be right back. All right, we are back. I have my tripod set up now, so I'm gonna transition it over to my desk, but I might need to make some small adjustments because my head might be in the way, etc. So let's try it, see if it hopefully didn't disconnect. Thank you, Rebel Star. Okay, that's very zoomed in. Let me do a head test real quick. Okay, that's pretty good. You guys maybe saw a hint of my hair. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's about where we'll be. I might push this a little bit closer. We can arrange it from there. Okay, so we're back on my desk. We will be working with the hair pieces now, so I'll be taking them over in a second. I did want to kind of show you guys a couple of photos of what we'll be doing. So in short, we've got these 4 pieces. Oh. 4 pieces here, which will become 2. So you can see there's 2 big hair pieces here, 2 small ones, and what we're going to be doing is gluing these pieces together and puttying over the gap in order to get them, you know, smoothed out so it's just one piece for painting. So there are a couple ways you can do this. Let me, first of all, actually I didn't show that before. I have a couple of photos, which I'm gonna try to upload right now and show you guys from an old kit that I did. I guess a slideshow would work. I'm gonna add a source on here and get it. Yeah. I forgot to do this before, so we're just gonna try to do this now. Might just pop up too, so. Oh, that is big. Okay. Let me hide that real quick. And this one. Okay. This should be good. I'm gonna put this up first. If I can find it again. I drug it down here. Okay, there we go. Alright. So this is an old kit that I built. Her name is Habanero Ton. And as you can see here in these photos slideshow, what I'm doing is these pieces are already painted, like the face is painted, everything's painted, but there's a huge gap because she's got this front hair piece that's supposed to attach to the back, and it's not one. So you can see here in this first photo, I applied some light curing putty to these pieces, and then you're going to let that all dry and then start sanding it down. So you can see I've sanded down all the way to like bare resin here on the finished paint job. And then you basically sand it down until it's smooth, prime it again, paint it again, and continue that process until the gap is completely gone. You can still see the gap at the top in all of these finished photos, but that's not going to be visible because she's got these like little like stems on the top of her head. So this is what we'll be doing, except the pieces are not primed. They're not painted. They're just, you know, primed, and that's it. So I'll leave this up in the top. This, I guess, I would consider sort of a more advanced procedure compared to like normal garage kit stuff. Mostly because there is, you know, you have to have an understanding of, you know, having your paint and your primer ready and all of that. You know, as well as not being afraid to sand over your finished paint job. This was the first time I had ever done that in those photos. And so I was pretty scared because I didn't want to mess up the faces. But you can see the faces are all masked off. I used a combination of like tape and plastic wrap to get, you know, the faces so there's nothing wrong with them. But yeah, so that's what we'll be doing with these, except they're not painted yet. And we could do it after. We could do this procedure like the, you know, method of Habanero Ton, but I figured this is a little bit easier and the pieces are easier to spray. So I do also need the finished kit picture, so let me grab that real quick. Just so I can double check the parts lists and everything, make sure that we're gluing the right pieces together. Would be bad if we did not. So if you guys have any questions at all about this procedure, let me know, because it is a little more of an advanced technique and something that, you know, people get kind of scared about. So here is the kit again. So we'll be just gluing those hairs. But I'm going to keep this up here in front of me so I have a reference. And same here. We will be referencing this sheet to make sure that everything is in order. Okay. Really, I could just work on one piece at a time and it probably wouldn't be an issue, but okay, I think this one goes with this one. So we can touch these pieces now. I primed them not tonight. I primed them earlier today. So let me make that photo a little bit smaller too. Kind of too small probably, but whatever. Actually, let me check on my own stream. Okay, that's decent enough. So put this over here. And one of these was already the right. Actually, no, they were good. Okay, so let's check this one. Went with this. Okay, so I'm gonna set these aside for now. Make sure that these pieces still fit. That was the other way. No, was that way? Feels like that was way closer than before. But maybe it wasn't. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that is how it was. Alright. That's a pretty tight fit already, but we're still gonna glue it. So let me get this one ready too, and that way I don't have to worry about it. So we're gonna be gluing these first, and then after that, we will start the putty work. Forgot how this one went. Yeah. Alright, so pretty clean fit. We did all of the test fitting and everything already. You can see there's really not too much to resolve here. We're just gonna have to fill in that gap after we glue the pieces. That's pretty easy. Okay, so I'll set that piece aside, and actually we could glue them at the same time. It's not a big deal. Alright, so we're gonna mix a little bit of our two-part glue. It's epoxy and hardener. As always, I'm using the Bob Smith brand. Yeah, Bob Smith Industries brand. This is the one I typically use when I'm gluing my resin kits. And this glue will take a little bit of time to dry. It is a 5-minute drying glue, so what we will do while we wait, I don't know. And show you the snowman again, maybe. Alright, so about the same amount of epoxy and hardener. Gonna mix that really well. Alright, that should be good. And so, leave that here. Just for a minute. We're gonna pull this piece out and apply a little bit of glue. Does not need to be a lot here. We're not, you know, we're trying not to get it to seep out. So, come on, camera. Okay, that's kind of close. Actually, it's not at all. But we're on a time limit here, so. In short, you don't want to be putting too much glue on this piece because you don't want it to seep out too much. But you do still want that stable bond, so.
I want to give you what I think is the most authentic recipe. So first up, guys, you only need this ingredient.
There we go, that should be good. Notice there's no glue seepage. I really want this to show.
Then, and I'm going to take a 9 centimeter slice
There we go. So no glue seepage happening here, just white resin. But you can see that gap is a little bit bigger on this side. We'll let that sit, and we'll do this other side. Nice tight fit for these pieces. It's already a little bit difficult to get them out, so that's good.
Because you need it.
In those photos above of Habanero Ton, the pieces are also already glued to her face. So this is really a last step procedure that you do before you finish a kit. Okay, a little bit more seepage on that. Yeah, that one had a little bit. So I'm gonna just wipe it off with a Q-tip. Okay. And that's pretty much it for now. So we're gonna wait just 5 or so minutes, you know, maybe a little bit longer to make sure the pieces are glued together. And then we will start our putty work on it, which I have a 2-part epoxy. I'm not sure if I need that actually. So we're gonna try the light curing putty first. These are very surface level, kind of small, you know, repair needed. There's not a big gap here, so I might be able to do the light curing putty. Try to reserve the 2-part epoxy stuff for bigger jobs, like when we were fixing her pants. So in the meantime, you guys have any questions about this procedure at all? There's something that you're scared about for garage kit building that you want to talk about? You have any personal questions for me? You guys excited for TFO? Yada yada. I keep forgetting to sign up for it. I think I've given up at this point. I missed the deadline again, and so there was not really anything that was a must-have for me. There was some cute stuff I was tempted by, but I don't think I'm gonna be getting anything from TFO this year either. I gotta save all my money for other merchandise and possibly Yahoo auctions when Wonder Festival happens. Oops. Don't want to be altering that too much, but you can also take a look at some of these other pieces that we primed now that they've had a little bit of chance to settle. Okay, the sign up window is still open. Yeah, probably not for long, because I think it was August 2nd that it closed. But yeah, I mean, if you're like into Fate Grand Order, etc., there's a lot of Hololive girls going up again this Treasure Festa. So if you're into those girls, then that's another big winner. There's some big cuties. Take a drink. Oh yeah, oh, I do have my putty. Anyway, what were we doing? We were looking at pieces as well. So, yeah, second round of priming went really well. I don't think we're gonna need to do too much more to a lot of these pieces. So we should be in good shape to start painting soon. Which, oh my goodness, that snuck up on me. Totally snuck up on me. I guess on Wednesday I'll have to reveal how I finally want her color scheme to go, because we're gonna be having to do some stuff for it. Prep some spoons, some color mixtures. I'm not even sure how I'm gonna be mixing them yet, so I'm not mentally ready for that. Oh my goodness. Wow, the arm there's a significant improvement with the arm, just crazy. So before there were all sorts of, you know, little bubbles and pock marks and everything, and you can see that none of that is really visible at this point. Granted, there's a lot of shadows and stuff happening here, but to me, even my eye, this piece looks almost entirely white. I can barely even see any hints of the Bondo that we put on. There's a little bit of it here on the very kind of top up here of her arm, but nothing crazy. Yeah, let me look at her torso as well under the light. Yeah, most of these pieces are ready to go. They're just gonna need that very brief sanding with a high grit to really get them polished and ready. There's a few fuzzies here and there I'm trying to get off. Let's see. Got a question. Why just purely gluing for connecting the hair pieces instead of pinning and gluing? Oh, these actually have a pin in them. Did you not see that hollow line? So these pieces have a pin in them, and then I'm gluing them together still. So they have that double connection. There's no way that I would be just like sticking them together and hoping they fit and then puttying over that, because that's really not going to offer you a solid connection. The pin, however, will keep everything in place, and so especially for these processes, what you want to be doing is making sure you know where your piece is going to end up. Otherwise, that glue is just kind of going to shuffle around, especially as you're trying to sand and everything. So yeah, I do want to make it clear. Okay, yeah, they have a pin in them. But yeah, when you're doing this, make sure that your pieces have a pin, even if it's, you know, a really small one, you know, 0.5 millimeter, you still want to be making sure that they have a bond. And that kind of goes with most of your kit. You know, I know people sometimes just glue their kit together, but I really don't recommend that. You know, you do want to have these magnets or pins as support for your kit, just to, you know, have that good connection and make them less likely to break when you're handling them or moving, etc. You know, I've moved a lot and I've taken a lot of my kits with me, and I've only had to deal with 1 or 2 breakages in, you know, the many times that I've moved over the years. So definitely good practice to, you know, do all of that. Where did my cardboard go? Did I throw it away already? Got like ahead of myself because I wanted to check on the glue. Weird. I think I might have thrown it away, but I don't even see it in here. Maybe it fell? Well, we'll wait a little bit longer, just so we can make sure that these pieces are dry before we start messing around with the putty, which I'm getting pretty close to being done with here. There's not a lot left. I've been slowly squeezing this bottle or tube. Where did it go? Put these away. I guess in that case, let me do a tiny bit of cleanup. Get some sandpapers ready. Here's my snowman again. So, well, not my snowman, but my painted snowman. He's a very tiny, camera won't even focus on him, so small. Wow, camera's really fussing tonight. Come on. Weird. It just wants to focus on here. So here he is. Here's a comparison of Tiny Snowman to these hair pieces. So you can get pretty fine detail in kits. I'm growing very attached to the snowman, as you can see. Just like looking at it. There you go. A little update on him. Very nice and shiny. He will not be shiny later, so when you're painting, we already covered this with the made kit, but I like to gloss coat everything for protection. Just to make sure that, you know, nothing scratches when I'm building. And then at the very last step is when you start your final top coats, so making things matte, semi-gloss, etc. Thank you. Yeah, I love this snowman too. I think I know which Miku kit you're talking about. If it's the one where she's in her snowy uniform and kind of like jumping, I'll have to dig it up. We have time, so let me see. Although, looking up Miku kit like Miku is probably the worst idea because she's got so many figures. Maybe you can find it quicker than me. I saw it for 1 second and then. Oh, well, there's one that's kind of similar. Let me show you guys which one I'm thinking of. Oh, there she is. No, that's not it either. There's a lot of Mikus. I'm just looking at Miku kits. I'll keep this one open. But there's one in particular which I'm thinking about. And it is a snow Miku. Hopefully that's the one. Yep, that's the one. Did you know I actually used to own this kit? I actually won her in an auction bundle, and then I sold her. So I was like intending to build her, and I thought she was super cute, but I just kind of fell out of love with her, and so I gave her to a better loving home. So hopefully she is happy now in her new home. But there are a bunch of other Miku kits in that bundle that I got, like that weird Buddha Miku. So honestly, I don't know about my priorities because I ended up, you know, building Buddha Miku right away and then sold this cutie. So really that just says something more about me than it does that kit. There was also another one that I really liked that I was considering building on this stream, but it's really tiny and so I'm not really sure if it would be worth it. But I also won this kit in that bundle, like a very, very small kit from Rum Candace. I can actually bring it up real quick. Let me go grab her out of my closet. Let's see. She should be right at the top, so let's see. Yep, she is. Yeah, this one's a real cutie. So she comes in a really simple package. This is proof that I did win this auction. But you can see it's really just a holographic bag. And the Miku herself is like, the image is printed on the bag, so you just pull the pieces out. So that's cool. But she's so small, so she only has a couple parts, but the pieces are so tiny. Look at the size of this face. This is like the big thing that comes with it. Keep everything intact. Here's her face. So small. So it was like, well, I don't think I'll build this one on stream because you guys aren't gonna see anything. And for reference, here is the kit we're building right now, you know, compared to this one. She's just so small. It's not. I'm thinking I might build this one in my spare time when I want just like something small and fun to experiment on. Because you can see she's got some really like cool patterns and stuff on her eyes, and it's something a little bit different. You know, but it's a fun kit. It's a fun little pose, and from what I remember, yeah, it fits together pretty well. Let me double check her head at least while we're getting sidetracked. Yeah, so like the parts fits pretty solid. She's really small. It's so small, camera is just like, what am I looking at? But you can see the parts fit really nice. There's an area here that doesn't fit up, but that's just because of this tab up here. And then, let's see. Her body is one piece, so, you know, this is my fingernail, and then my fingernail's pretty small. Here's a Q-tip for reference. So really, she's like honestly the size of 1/3 of a Q-tip. So small, but it fits together pretty well. Yeah, so she'll fit like that. The more I look at this, the more I'm just like, I could build this really quick. I say that, but it still takes me forever to build anything. Sure. The glue should be good by now, so let me double check. We had this brief distraction of Miku. Let's see, does this one have a lot of bubbles that are really visible? Let me double check. I didn't notice any on my first pass, but the easiest way is for me to hold it up to the light. Not really any on her back of her head. Let's check the twin tails, because that's where... There's a couple small ones. There's a really weird thing going on her twin tails. So you can kind of see this black lump There's like something in it, so that's not me. That's something that got stuck in the resin cast. But I'm not seeing any huge bubbles. So, but that might change. Oh yeah, there's a lot of bubbles up at the top of her, up here. So there's a couple up here, but nothing that's so bad that I'm just like, oh my god, I'm putting off this kit. This should be a good side build for a few techniques. There's one or two things I wanted to try on her, but I never got the chance to yet, so she sits in the closet waiting for her time. Maybe next year, Miku. My schedule is full. Alright, so it should be good now, in terms of having this glued. Let me double check. Just kind of wiggle it a little. Yeah, it's pretty solid. Yep, that's pretty good. So, we're pretty much ready to continue the putty work at this point. These pieces are glued and they will be from now on. So this is now considered one piece. We just need to repair this gap so it doesn't look like it's two pieces. Let's see, treasure to find out what is the ladder. I'm not sure what you mean by that hollow lie. Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry. Maybe it was a phone text-to-speech or something that didn't come out right. Okay, yeah, I don't know if I want to drill to find out what that piece is or what it is. Might just leave it as it is and that's it. Sometimes things are not worth knowing. Alright, pretty much we're gonna just be doing the same thing we did for, you know, puttying and everything. We're gonna basically put a line of light curing putty over this, hold it up to the light, sand it down, and then once we get it smooth, we can probably prime it again. So, gonna go really light over it. Hopefully you guys can see. Again, you can use pretty much any putty for this, except I don't recommend stuff like Bondo. So you can use a milli putt or a thinner putty like this. 2-part epoxy will also work, but my issue with those is that this gap is so thin that a lot of those bigger 2-part putties, they're thick, and so you're just going to be doing a lot of sanding when all you really need to do is smooth down a small line. What we'll do here is put the putty on both pieces, or one at a time, I should say. We'll put putty on this piece, and then we'll put putty on, we'll let it dry, and then put putty on the other piece, let that one dry, and then start sanding. See, we might need to do 1 or 2 passes for this. You can see it gets in kind of a weird position once we go up here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it well on the camera, but I'm pretty focused right now, so. And I like using a toothpick because you can kind of like smudge it into the crack. That way there's less chance of bubbling and stuff later. Put a little bit more on this side. Actually, pretty good. I tend to apply more putty than needed a lot of the time. Okay, so that's pretty good. You can see that there's, oh, camera will cooperate again. There's a lot of yellow on all of these planes, so it's kind of like a triangle shape. We're gonna hold it up to the light now and let that cure, or dry, / cure. And then after that, we'll just move on directly to the other piece. And so that way all we'll have to do is sand both of them. This one might take a little bit longer to dry just because I have to hold it up on a couple different angles to make sure that all of these sides dry out. So really what we are in is step like 1 of this procedure. So that's step 3, I think. Yeah, that's step 3. This is step 4, when it's pretty much complete. You know, you just paint it over again. And this is step 1. So we're applying the light curing putty to the gap. After that will be this step where we're going to be sanding it down. And you can see that the line in the middle that is painted, that's because there's paint under it. We haven't reached the putty yet, or we haven't sanded all the putty down yet. In this case, when we are sanding these hair pieces, we will only see bare resin. There's no paint on them. So we'll see white, and then we'll see kind of that beigey yellow that this kit is made of. But that should be it. Minimize the skin. But I can say with confidence that this is a technique that will really put you apart if you decide to do it. So, you know, a lot of hair builds, they have these broken down pieces, or they have a front and back gap. Your kit will look a lot more finished and professional if you do choose to eliminate those gaps. A lot of sculptors do try to, you know, make it so you don't have to do that, but, you know, if it's a newer sculptor, or somebody, you know, just didn't have time or whatever, or the build doesn't allow it, then, you know, sometimes you don't have the opportunity to do so. So it's not something that it's a must-have. It's something that looks nice, but, you know, also depends on your mood if you feel like doing it or not. You know, there's definitely been builds that I have built somewhat recently that I could have probably done this, but I just didn't feel like it. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong if you don't do it. Let me see. I'm gonna check my website, but I can't have access to my own website. What's going on here? That's not good. I wonder if I can get up to it on my phone. Maybe I need to renew my... No, it works on my phone. What the heck? Okay, that's weird. Well, that's something that's different. But anyway, we could have done that with a couple of kits, is what I'm trying to say, but I didn't do it because I didn't feel like it. Alright, continuing on, we are going to putty this other side now. Hello unit, how are you doing tonight? We are just puttying some hair and making it so they are one piece now. So basically we have these 2 red pieces of hair. We have now glued the piece together, and we are going to be puttying over this little gap and smoothing it out so it all looks like one piece. So we just did that for this one, but we are going to set that to the side and sand it down after we finish puttying this one. So this piece a little bit more unique. We really only have to do it to 2 sides. So we have this side here, and you can't do it to this side because it already looks like one piece. So in a way, this one's actually a little bit easier. You get a little bit of trial and error involved in this. You know, I remember when I did that habanero ton, it took me a little while and a lot of sanding to make sure everything was all smoothed out. But, you know, I did that so long ago, so I'm not really afraid of doing it again. Just try to work up the courage to do. Alright, that's a little bit thin on the middle part. Keep wiping it off. There we go. Alright. Okay, I'm gonna hold this piece up to the light now and let that fully dry. And we may have to do this, you know, another time, so a second time depending on how the gap looks, if it's fully sanded, if it has a little bit of dents, etc. You have a bit like this on your cheek. Yeah, it's a very common thing with front and back face plate or hair plates, you know, middle hairlines, etc. A lot of times you can get by it if the kit looks like it has bangs or something already, but for really smooth hair, sometimes it's just better to do this. Did I even do this on my Alice kit? I don't think I did. I think it one looked like it had bangs. Really, I'm looking through my past work here, and it looks like I just pick kits with bangs, so I don't have to do this. Or I pick kits with like replaceable hair, like the maid kit, and so I say, oh, I don't have to do that because, you know, this maid kit has you know, 2 face plates, so we obviously can't glue the hair. It's got 2 face plates. All right, getting there. Only a little bit left. Rotating the piece. Alright, should be good. Yep, that's looking good. Yes, working smart. Actually, this one's a little bit wet, so I'll hold it up here. Have I picked up any new kits recently? No, I haven't actually. Have not picked up any PVC, or not PVC, kits other than the one I showed quite a while ago. I think it was that original character with like a bionic leg or something. I forgot her name already. Chifuru or something like that. So that was the most recent one that I got. But I have gotten a lot of PVC orders recently. So a lot of stuff had been delayed for so long, but finally the orders are coming through. And so just today, actually, I finally got the Coco figure from QuestQ. It's Atelier Witch Hat's Coco. So she is a beauty. I gotta tell you that. She is massive, though. So if you want to see her on stream, let me know. But she's downstairs. She's a 1/6 scale, which I completely forgot. And so the figure is like, I kid you not, like this big. And her face is bigger than like all of the kits I've built in the past year. She's huge, and I was like, I have no idea where I'm gonna put her. So I've got to figure that out, but I highly recommend that figure. I was really excited for that Coco, because I do really enjoy Atelier Witch Hat, and I didn't purchase the Kotobukiya one because I wasn't really a fan of how her final product and the paint job turned out. But this one, the paint job's beautiful, and it looks just like the first volume art, so cannot recommend that enough. And then I also picked up Native. They had a witch named Miss Orangette, so it's a not safe for work figure. I picked that one up recently, and it was like came out like 2 years ago, but went up for pre-order like 2 years ago, and then it finally came out, you know, this month or last month. But I haven't had a chance to display her because she came with like a scratch on her leg, and so I've been in the process of seeing if I could get a replacement leg from Native. So that one I can't show on the stream. It's very spicy. She's got nips, some nips showing. So, you know, it's actually my only like second or third not safe for work figure. I don't purchase a lot of those, but I really like the look of this witch. So look up Miss Orangette if you want to see what she looks like. I will not be showing her. I really liked her eyes. They've got like a heart in the middle. So fun times. All right. Anyway, we're gonna start sanding these down. I'm gonna work on this one first because it's a little bit easier. We only have these two planes, and that way I can kind of see what's happening, if I need to add more putty, etc., if it breaks off, that kind of thing. And then yeah, I think those are the two most recent ones. Oh, also, I finally got my Lana Torabishi Kickstarter figure from Good Smile Distributing / whatever that guy's name is, Hugh? I forgot. No, it wasn't Hugh. Maybe it was. I don't remember. Anyway, it was a Kickstarter that happened ages ago, and I was really concerned I would never get this figure because, like, she came out in Japan forever ago, and then COVID struck, and they just shut down EMS in the US forever. So I finally messaged Good Smile Company about this figure, and they sent her out to me. So a lot of PVC filling up my cabinet again. I had a bunch of spaces ready for these kits, and then it took them forever to get here. So now I have no room again. But I like it. I like collecting both, you know, garage kits and PVC. I'm just a lot pickier with my PVC purchases these days. So, you know, you won't see me buying many prize figures or anything or trading figures. Most of the stuff that I get is pre-orders that I've had for a long time. There's not too much that I'm looking forward to in the near future. But what I really want is last Wonder Festival or some event, Good Smile Company showed off these little bookshelf dioramas for Nendoroids, and I could really use some of those. I have a bunch of miscellaneous Nendos that I want, and they would be fun to display. Let's see, is Orangette a cast-off or is it alternate? She is a cast-off figure, so she has like basic parts, you know, like her outfit and stuff, but her outfit is fully removable, and so she's got, you know, fully sculpted nude body underneath it, and even when she is like fully, you know, clothed, you can still see like peak hint of nips because it is like a not safe for work figure. So not really sure where I'm gonna put her. Like at first I had her right up front and center in my cabinet, and I was like, yeah, that's sexy. Now I don't know. I think once I get her leg back, like a new leg or something, I will try to figure out a place to put her. Yeah, I really like her cage skirt. I like the like tentacles. That sounds real bad if you guys don't know what this figure looks like. It's there's no tentacles involved, but she's like a sexy witch. But yeah, she's got like a cage skirt going on and like an apron in the front. The fully clothed one is really cute. So like I really like her outfit and just like her long hair, and the paintwork and the finish by Native, like they're very high quality. I found, like, I've been satisfied with the purchases I've had from them, and so everything was basically perfect on that figure except for the leg, so that was unfortunate, but it's all good. Yeah, she looks super cool. It's a little bit outside of my usual style, so like I'm not, you know, I don't purchase that style a lot. Something about her though is just like, you know, classy, I guess. Yeah. She's not straight up like in a lewd pose or anything like that. She just looks super cool, and then she's also got, you know, like rockin' body. So why not? I appreciate it. Vast majority of what I collect is like, you know, cuties and then guy figures now. So you just fit the bill. Alright, as you can see, we're slowly getting there. We're starting to see, actually that step right there. This is what we're working on. So we can see hints of the resin underneath, but we're also sanding down that gap until it's fully smooth. And what we actually can probably do tonight, if we get all that sanding done, is just prime over this again and see how that gap looks. So that would be actually a good probably stopping point, because I want to get all this sanding done tonight. So it may go a little bit longer than 10. But then again, then I have to like switch my setup and everything. So we'll just sand all this down and then see where we're at. But yeah, those are the most recent purchases that I've made. I've got a couple more PVC that are probably coming out pretty soon. It's been a long time since I checked. Oh, there's another Remelia that I ordered that should be coming out relatively soon. We finally got a release date, but I don't remember if that was from QuestQ or something else. I would have to check. I try to support Remelia figures because she is my waifu. I'm talking about Remelia Scarlet from Toho. Oops. I have a kind of a collection that I've accumulated over the years of her for whatever reason, so there's not too many Toho figs coming out this year or these days, so when there is like a nice Remelia, I try to pick it up. Alright, we're just sanding this gap down. I will show you guys once I get, you know, to a point where I'm happy with this side before we move on to the next side. And what we really want to be seeing at this point is, focus, both sides of the white sanding down. So you can see here that there's still a little bit of white right up here and to the left of my finger. We want to make sure that's all sanded down, because then that means that the piece is flush. So both sides are equally like the same, I guess. And don't want to be pushing like too hard on this either though, because we don't want to be breaking that putty gap. You can see though why a thinner putty might work better for these types of repairs. You know, if we had to deal with the two-part stuff, it has a longer curing / drying time. It just takes a little bit longer to work with. I think we'll leave that for now. This side, I'll come back to it once I finish this other side. Okay, so we're gonna work on this side now, which does not have any of the stuff sanded down yet, but you can see this is fully sanded at this point. What I am really just holding on to is the hopes of a nice Wonder Festival. So I know that a lot of us won't be able to go this year because of COVID and everything, but as far as I know, there is one planned in September for, you know, an in-person exhibition. So Japanese people will be going to that, and there will be announcements. I wonder how PVC companies are going to treat it though, because a lot of them have moved to like online stuff. I wonder if they're saving up a lot of announcements for, you know, this event. Okay, a little bit harder to reach into this area here. Also, I do just want to say it's been an absolutely wonderful night for airbrushing, and day as well. There's been very low humidity. The weather has been not too hot, and so these pieces and this primer has dried really nice and smooth and just have been really pleasant to handle, so I'm thankful for that. You can have very dramatic differences in your garage kit experience depending on when you choose to spray and build kits depending on the weather, so this was a good night to do all of this. So thank you for joining me tonight. Alright, just a little bit of corner resin here, or putty, sorry. So far so good. I think after I sand all this down with 800, I'm going to go over it with the 1200, just a little bit to make sure everything's smoothed down. And then we will move on to the next piece. Good, so let me take this. This is a kind of flexible 1200 that I cut from a bigger piece. We're just gonna go over it. Some of these areas might be a little tricky to paint, but with a small enough airbrush, definitely no problem. Mostly I'm talking about areas like inside here. Those can be a little tricky, as well as like undersides of here, so we might get some small flakes, but that's about it. Alright, do a little bit more here. And oftentimes this takes 1 or 2 additional rounds of primer, so just, you may notice, you know, you get a little bump or something that you need to sand down, and so you have to correct it again. And feeling it, feels pretty smooth. There's a little bit of a divot here in the middle, but I'm not sure if that's just from like the piece itself, so we'll have to see when we prime. But you can see now the pieces are connected, they are, you know, one full piece, and so when we prime it, ideally we won't be seeing this line at all. It's just gonna be, you know, one straight piece of resin. So zooming in a little more, see that it's all one piece. Not too bad to deal with at all. It's a, you know, it's a procedure that looks pretty scary, but overall is relatively simple. And because these pieces are glued, it shouldn't shuffle around, but you do want to still be careful not to hit it or bump it a lot, because you could risk dislodging or, you know, making another line in that resin. Or resin and putty, I guess. In that case, what I usually do is I go over that with Bondo and fill in those micro, you know, micro lines, I guess I would call them. So I'm gonna put this piece up and we're gonna sand the other one now. We've still got this piece to do. So we'll start on the easy sides, and then the last part will be this one kind of in the middle in the difficult area. Alright. So continuing on. This hair piece also a little more elaborate, as you can see. There's a few more tendrils going on. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll start on this side. So I'm just using an 800 grit at this point. I don't want anything too scratchy because we've already done all of the sand work on this kit. And it also has primer on it. So what you're seeing here is not the bare resin. This white is the primer that we added. But the primer feels super smooth, which is great. And I didn't notice any other issues with, you know, holes or bubbles in the resin. So that's why we're at this stage now. Might need to put out a little bit of a bigger sandpaper. And I'm just kind of sanding along the hair itself, so in a circular motion. See my fingers. It looks like I'm moving up and down, but I'm actually moving in a circular motion. Kind of the default you want to be having for sanding your kit. Make sure the whole area gets smoothed down, not just one in particular, one area. Alright, I'm gonna put a little bit of a bigger piece of sandpaper. It's not that much bigger, but it will help. So really it's just a game of patience here, you know. You could get a much faster sanding job with a higher grit, or lower grit I should say. But you also risk scratching your kit that way, maybe making an additional mistake, so. Especially when primer is involved at this stage, I just try to use higher grits. Most people stay in the range of 800 to 1200 plus for priming areas once you get to this stage. About 1000 grit is a good baseline for sanding down your primer and fixing anything else like this. Okay. I really want to be starting to see the primer come off of the either side at this point. So you can see a lot of the primer coming off here. Okay. I can zoom in more to show you guys. Okay. Okay, camera. I zoom out. Hold it here, maybe. Not cooperating. Okay-ish. Yeah, anyway, you can see it right there briefly. So there's some yellow there, but not a lot on this side. We want to be seeing the yellow on both sides. Because that means that the pieces are essentially level where I'm sanding it down. I'm not sanding one side more than the other right now. I'm sanding flat on the surface, so. And I think this is probably all we'll have time for. So what I can do is we'll wrap up this sanding aspect, and then I will prime these pieces and we can return to them on Wednesday. And I think we'll be ready for spoon work on Wednesday. We'll have to do the color reveal and start figuring stuff out. Exciting times. Okay. Almost there. On this side. Okay, that's about where I'm gonna stop right now. So both pieces at this point have some of the white showing, or I guess yellowy showing on either side. You can see there's more on here, but also this side. So there's a little bit of some yellow here that, or white from the primer that didn't get sanded down yet. So I might need to sand that down more later, but we'll see. So next side is this one. This is the side 2 out of 3. It's just going to get a little bit harder to sand down these areas each time because this is a relatively complicated piece. Kind of a lot of swirls going on. Yeah, have a good night, Rebel Star. Thank you for tuning in this long. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. We will be doing lots of fun stuff in the airbrush booth. I will need to clean it up a little bit probably too. It's gotten pretty nasty from all of the work that I've been doing. But maybe I'll give it some nice new paper towels for the spoon work. Okay, I'm gonna switch this out. Kind of burning through this 800, but I don't mind. Because it is such a fine grit, it picks up these particles pretty quickly. And note that I'm not wet sanding. You could be wet sanding at this stage too, I guess, but I find that it's a little bit, when primer is involved, I don't like to get the primer wet, so I tend to stick with dry sanding. Really just slowly working our way down here, getting this light carrying putty smoothed out. Very, very easy thing you can do to make your kit look a little bit more professional and finished. Move this a bit. Tend to adjust these sandpapers quite a bit when I'm doing this work. And I did put quite a bit more putty on this side, so. Hopefully you guys have had some time to work on your kits or your projects as well. I know for a lot of people in school, this is your summer break, so hopefully you haven't been working too hard. Had some time to invest in your hobbies. And for everyone else working, I feel you. Hopefully you can also set aside a little bit of time, even if it's not building kits, just to do something that makes you happy. Alright, side almost done. A little bit more I'm gonna do here. Okay. That's probably good for now. So same deal here. You can see that both sides have, you know, some bare resin showing. Don't want to do too much to it, but you can get all of that out of the way. There's also a few nicks here and there that I'm noticing, but that could just be from the piece itself, because this piece was pretty rough. Okay, so last is this tough gap here. This is going to be a little more of a challenge to sand, so I'll probably have to use a combination of the paper as well as some cloth sandpaper, which I'm not sure if I have enough fully cut and ready, so we'll just kind of play it by ear here. But same, you know, process, so we're just sanding this minor area off. Might switch to sand already, this one. Let me cut this actually. This is a little bit thick. So this is an 800 grit, but in like flexible sandpaper form. So basically just threading it through, and I'm going to sand across now, rather than in a circular motion. You do want to be careful when you're working like this, because it is easy to go too far and sand down too much. So I'm just going to do a little bit at a time and then check it every time. Getting pretty close. A little more could happen on this side, so let me flip this around. It's a weird angle. Kind of hard to get an angle on the inside here. I need a little bit of a more sandpaper. A little more. Hard to see what I'm doing at this stage, so my apologies if you cannot tell, but I am just sanding down this light curing putty in a hard to reach spot. Kind of alternating between the paper and the flexible sandpaper. Don't want to push down too hard on it either. Getting pretty good on this side, but switch this out. See if that helps. This will be the last sanding work that we do tonight. Getting pretty good. You can see that we are, getting it pretty flat at this point, but there's still that kind of yellow visible chunk. We don't want that visible at all. We just want the line where the two pieces connected. And I did add quite a bit of putty here because I wanted to make sure that we filled all of it in the first time. So that's why it's taken a little bit longer. There we go, it's a good angle. My point here also being that it's a lot easier to sand at a flat angle than these curved surfaces. Takes a little more finesse. I'd say we're about 2/3 of the way there at this point, so not too much more. I'm not having a mask on right now. Not really dealing with too much dust. It's just a small localized area. Okay, I'm gonna use this a little more. See if I can get any of this extra bulk stuff off. Almost done on this side, but the other side needs a little bit. Lion. This area is stubborn. Might have to go in just very, very briefly with the 400. See if I can get any of that extra junk off. I don't have very much 400 left, so I don't want to have to scratch this very much, but just sand in and smooth in process. Alright, this side almost done. I think I'll come back to it shortly. Say that, but then I continue it. Maybe I will just finish this side. Okay, never mind. Let's work on the other side just a little bit. Oh, it's tougher. Some slightly used 400, so it's not entirely 400 grit at this point. Debating if I wanted to go in with an X-Acto knife, try to shave off some of it, but I don't think that would be smart. Because when you pull up the exterior putty around it, you risk pulling up some of that that's sitting in that gap. But sometimes better just to go in and continue to smooth things out with sandpaper. Again. But we want a good final result. Does take work. Very little putty left. I don't know why. Why? There's too much. Okay. So you can see there's a little bit left right there. That yellow kind of climbs up above the line where we had all of the putty. So I want to get that off. But easier said than done. But it might just be that that was also like kind of a dip that when we added the putty, it self-leveled itself, so might be able to get by that too, but we'll have to see. For now, it looks like it's sanding, so. Back over here. These pieces are mostly the same. A little easier to sand now that it's a pretty smooth surface. Alright, this side is pretty good. I would say that that's mostly done for now at this point until we finish the second run of primer on that area. And this is the last area then. Alright, I think that's pretty good, honestly. There is a small bit of putty that doesn't seem to be, you know, going away, but we'll have to prime and see how that looks. It might just be that it filled in an area. Let me get this another rub with the 1200. Really smooth these areas out, and I'll show you guys what that fully sanded down piece looks like. And it's probably a good idea I did this before it was even painted, because it's really difficult to get sand only this area down. Most of the time I'm like hitting an edge of the you know, other tendrils, etc. Let's see, realizing the dry time for the white Tamiya putty, this light curing stuff becomes really appealing. How are the fumes on this type of putty? Very, very low fumes on this light curing putty. There's really not a huge smell at all, and then because the curing and drying time is so short, you know, you're not smelling anything after it's dried, and it's like what, a minute or so before it fully dries. So I basically, once I went to this putty years ago, I never switched you know, back into the white Tamiya white stuff and the Tamiya gray stuff. I still have like a tube of the white stuff sitting in my closet, but I don't really pull it out at all. I would highly recommend this light curing putty. It is the price point is quite expensive compared to the other ones. So I think the last time I checked, this light curing putty was around like 16 to 18 US dollars. So that's pretty expensive per putty. Most putties are, you know, $4 to $5, $6, $7. And so this is essentially 2 or 3 times that. But this tube has lasted me, you know, years at this point. And you really don't need a lot, like a little goes a long way. So for me, like the ease of working with it, yeah, the low smell, the fast dry time, it was a no-brainer for me. Like some people have complaints about the color, you know, it being too yellow, but I don't, you know, typically use clear primer or anything like that anyway, and so I don't have a problem with that if everything's going to be primed over with white. So I really enjoy it. It's smooth, like it sands down really easily as well, which is a huge plus. There's not really any flakiness, you know, because sometimes you sand down your putties and even though they may be cured, like they come off flaky or, you know, they're kind of uneven and they're drying. This one is always consistent, and so I highly recommend it. Anyway, I think that we are pretty much good. Let me show you guys what this piece looks like now. So we're pretty good in terms of what it looks like. There's a little bit of a bump here, which I might sand down a little more. But that's more of an issue with the kit sculpt itself. Yeah, I'll probably do that off stream. But you can see that, you know, this line itself is fully filled in. It doesn't really look like there's that much going on. And so once we prime over it, hopefully there won't be too much of a dip. It should just be flush, but you know, until then we won't really know. So let me sand this down real quick if I can. Otherwise, we'll have to just wait till Wednesday. I'm just fixing a sculpt issue right now where it looks a little bit bumpy. have to use 400 for that. I did a lot of this off camera during the first round of sanding, so you guys probably didn't see it. But the big thing with these hair tendrils is wanting them to look the same. Yeah, it could be a putty line. Might have to do a bit more work on that. But anyway, I think that pretty much concludes this night's stream then. So next time, we should have these primed at least round 1. I'll do that on my own, and that way you guys will be able to see what they look like, or maybe we'll have sanding, maybe we won't. Then we will need to be sanding down the second round of primer, probably just with the 1200 grit. I don't anticipate there being a lot of issues we need to fix, but you know, that's what the second check is for. And we should be able to start some spoon work, so painting, figuring out our color schemes, working with some fun stuff. That should all happen on Wednesday. So thank you so much for tuning in. The next stream will be Wednesday, August 4th at same time, 8 p.m. EST. It's our time for now. I do want to say that we will be changing the stream times for up and coming for sure. Monday and Wednesday are not going to work anymore for me, mostly because I will be in class at that time. So end of August, you know, I'll be starting school. We'll have to change the stream time. So I'm going to try to figure that out over the next couple weeks, and then get that going before I start, so we can, you know, at least establish a new routine. Yes, I'm excited too. We'll see if it works out or not. I might end up switching things. But thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you guys all have a good rest of your night.